Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we're heading back to Ghyran for day 22 of the Scourge of Ghyran. And today we have a bounty of Bubos and Bile as Nurgle take to the field. Lydia has our lore drop for today, but we're not here for that. Let's get into the rules. To aid the Plague Legions in their endeavours, there are 3 new traits for your horrific heroes. The Living Plague instantly makes an enemy unit diseased when they get into combat with them, while the Unctuous Preacher turns your hero into a priest. That's always quite nice. As for the Corpulent Avalanche, well, if you see this pestilent powerhouse wobbling towards you, get out of its way. It seems like Nurgle's faithful have been rehearsing some benedictions of sickness. So is this a prayer law then, I'm guessing? The Infectious Surge gets your Maggotkin waddling a bit quicker towards the enemy. Frothing mucus can protect them from harm, like they need it. And agonizing vomiting simply makes the enemy puke all over the place. A simple point and barf. That all sounds gross and very Nurgle-y. Let's just take a look at... Yeah, I love that Harbinger model. That's such a... It is one of the best AOS sculpts I think they've done. Yeah, I think Maggotkin are actually this stuff. Like the demons, the poxwalkers, the bigger stuff. They're super gross, but they're really nice models. It's the weird flying things that I'm not sold on. That Harbinger is stunning. Anyway, back to the article. And how could we not mention the new war scroll for Rotigus? The Rain Father has made it his mission to pour all manner of filth upon the realm of life. Enemies that get too close find their armor rusting to nothing, so minus saves or wards or something maybe, probably saves, while flesh and cloth become waterclogged with rot. He can increase the range of his downpour throughout the battle, while he can choke the life out of those who charge him with his undulating tentacles. So Rotigus is today's war scroll. We'll get onto that in a minute. General's Handbook fact number 10. Manifestations have been updated and now come with their own bespoke war scroll cards. For most manifestation laws, these are presented as 2 double-sided war scrolls with a spell on each side and the 4th side comprising the summoning rules for each spell. Okay. For tomorrow's Scourge of Ghyran, we focus on one of the few factions who really aren't attempting to make it actively worse to live here. Would that be the tree one? What are they called? The Sylvaneth? I think it's trees. We'll find out tomorrow. How about we get into this one? So our faction rules. For Maggotkin of Nurgle, we kick off with our heroic traits, Grandfather's Gifts. So these are hero only. We have 3 to choose from as usual. First one, once per battle, any combat phase, Living Plague. Declare if this unit charged this turn, pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. Effect that target has the diseased keyword. I'm going to work on the basis that that is a rule built into the Maggotkin faction stuff. That could actually be quite nice. Depends what disease does and how you can play with diseased. We have a passive Unctuous Preacher. Effect, if this unit is not a priest, it has the priest 1. If this unit is already a priest, add 1 to the chanting rolls for this unit. Oh, so you can turn a hero into a priest, which is nice, or +1 to chanting rolls. You probably want to turn a hero into a priest at that. +1's nice, but yeah, if it was make them priest 2, that would be a choice that you need to make, but no, I'd rather just make a hero a priest. It's a nice trait though. And our final one is a charge phase ability, Corpulent Avalanche. Declare, if this unit charged this turn, pick a visible enemy unit within 1 inches of it to be the target. Effect, roll a number of dice equal to the unit's move characteristic. For each 3-up, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. If any damage points were allocated to the target by this ability, this unit can move 2d3 inches, it can move through the combat ranges of enemy units, and must end that move with units it was already in combat with at the start of the move. So you charge it, you pick a unit you're probably in base contact, or you're in charge range with. Combat range with. You roll your dice, 5, 6, depending on what you're up against, potentially more. You inflict mortal damage. If you do inflict mortal damage, basically roll 1 3-up. Then you can move through that unit 2d3 inches, basically just, if you're able to, maybe flipping around the other side of it. Again, we're seeing a lot of these types of things, and it's more about getting on objectives and overpowering units before you actually do damage. I think objective play is going to be a huge thing in this new General's Handbook, but it is going up for pre-order at the weekend, so we will be finding out soon. Our prayer law, benedictions of sickness, they all go off on a 3. Our first one, infectious surge, declare, pick a friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle priest to chant this prayer. Pick a visible friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target. Make a chanting roll of d6. Effect, add 2 to the target's move characteristic for the rest of the turn. In addition, if the chanting roll was 6+, for the rest of the turn that unit can use charge abilities even if it used a retreat ability in the same turn. And that's your unlimited prayer. That's quite nice. So you can retreat and then charge, keep stacking those charge bonuses. Yeah, I quite like that one. Our second one, agonizing vomit. So these next two are just single use per turn. But agonizing vomit, declare, pick a friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle priest to chant this prayer, pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of them to be the target, make a chanting roll of d6. Effect, roll 7 dice. If the chanting roll was 6+, which is possible even on just the 1 dice roll, add 2 to each roll, and for each 5 up, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. It sounds nice, but I'm not sure how much work you're going to get out of it. But it's not bad. And finally, frothing mucus. Declare, pick a friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle priest to chant this prayer. Pick a visible friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target. Make a chanting roll of d6. Effect, until the start of your next turn, the charge +1 damage weapon ability has no effect on combat attacks that target the unit. If the chanting roll was a 6+, weapon abilities other than the companion ability have no effect instead. Getting that off on a 6+ is really nice. I think that's quite a nice prayer actually. That's a very nice buffing way of keeping like defensive buffing friendly units. Yeah, okay, not a bad prayer law. The vomiting one it could either be really good or really bad. The other two I think are quite nice. The buffing prayers are quite nice. Shall we take a look at Rotigus? Rotigus is a 6-inch move with a 4-up save and a 5-up ward, 22 health and 10 control. We have 3 melee weapons. Gnarl Rod is the battle damaged one, so while this unit has 10 or more damage points, the attack's characteristic of its Gnarl Rod is 3, so when it has 12 health or less, that kicks in. But Gnarl Rod is 5 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 1 rend, 3 damage. Losing 2 attacks on that when you're battle damaged is a bit of a sting, but okay, that's what it is. Banged Maw is 2 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 2 rend, 2 damage. And Host of Nurglings, is this what's crawling about all over him, is crit, auto wound and companion, 10 attacks, but hits and wounds on a 5-up, damage 1. So it's a little bit extra, you might get 1 or 2 wounds through, but don't rely on it. We have 4 abilities. First one is a passive Befouled Rainfall. Effects subtract 1 from save rolls for enemy units when they are wholly within 6 inches of this unit. That's quite nice. He has a spell which it goes off on a 7, Virulent Downpour. Effect, add 3 inches to the range of this unit's Befouled Rainfall ability. For the rest of the battle, this unit can be affected by this ability multiple times and the effects are cumulative. Then, inflict 1 mortal damage on each enemy unit within range of that ability. Wow, that is a hell of a buff. You want to be getting that off every turn to really make that horrible. And as the range grows and it spreads out from him, just more units taking 1 mortal damage. Yeah, that's nice. We have a passive Bringer of Plenty. Effect, add 1 to casting rolls for this unit. Okay, that spell now goes off on a 6. And our final ability, once per turn army, any charge phase, Tentacular Grip. Declare, pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Effect, roll a dice. If the dice exceeds the target save characteristic, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Keywords Rampage. Okay, so if it exceeds the target save characteristic, that's great against heavily armored things. Wow. But yeah, okay, some really nice abilities. And I love how 3 of his abilities are just boosting his rainfall passive, basically. Yeah, that's quite a nice war scroll. Keywords, War Master, Unique, Hero, Monster, Wizard, 2, Ward 5-up, Chaos, Maggotkin of Nurgle, and Demon. Yeah, he's pretty good. But he is 430 points, so you're paying a lot for him. Regiment options 0 to 1 Plague Scion and any Maggotkin of Nurgle. Before we look at his standard war scroll, What do you guys think of that? I think that is an absolute monster of a War Scroll. Really nice. And now we have his standard faction War Scroll. We have a 6-inch move with a 4-up save, 5-up ward. That's the same, 22 health, 5 control, so his control is less. Melee weapons, Gnarl Rod, 5 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 1 rend, 3 damage. Battle damage effect is exactly the same. Fanged Maws, 2 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 2 rend, 2 damage. And the Host of Nurglings, 10 attacks, hits on 5s, wounds on 5s, 1 damage, crit auto wound, and companion. So no change there. 3 abilities. We will do... we'll do his spell first. So the spell goes off on an 8. Deluge of Nurgle. Declare, pick each diseased enemy unit on the battlefield and each friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle unit in combat with any diseased enemy units to be the targets, then make a casting roll of 2d6. So pick any diseased enemy unit and the enemies that is in combat with any of those. Effect, roll a d3 for each target. On a 2-up, if the target is an enemy unit, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. If the target is a friendly unit, heal X the target, where X is the amount equal to the roll. That's quite... it's harder to go off, but that's quite a nice spell as well. A little bit damage, a little bit healing. I quite like that. We have a combat phase ability, so once per turn army, any combat phase, Mountain of Loathsome Flesh. Declare if this unit charged this phase, roll a dice. On a 3-up, pick an enemy unit within 1 inches of the target. Effect, roll a number of dice equal to the number of the models in the target unit. Each 5-up, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. Keywords Rampage. It's not bad, it's not guaranteed by any means, going off on a 5-up, but it's a nice little bit of extra damage. And we have a passive Bringer of Plenty. Effect, add 1 to casting rolls for this unit, so his spell would be going off on a 7. Okay. Keywords, Warmaster, Unique, Hero, Monster, Wizard 2, Ward 5-up, Chaos, Maggotkin of Nurgle, and Demon. That version of Rotigus is 430 points. Okay, so they're the same points. So when a unit's the same points, it sort of makes it easier to choose between them, I think. But what changes do we have? His control is doubled, 10 control is really nice, his attacks are all the same. Befouled Rainfall is a really nice passive for anything within 6 inches, subtract 1 from save rolls. That's really good. He still has his +1 to cast, so the big change is how his mortal damage is done on the charge phase. So Tentacular Grip is probably harder to get off, but better against armoured units, whereas the other one, is it harder to get off? Because the other one is, so you roll a dice and on a 3-up you pick a unit, but then for each model in that unit, on a 5-up you do damage. So it's not necessarily easier to get off, is it? So the charge abilities are probably about the same, but the Ghyran one is better against heavily armoured units, instead of the other one which is better against big units. I don't think there's enough difference there to make a choice. It comes down to his spells. You are losing a little bit of mortal damage output and a little bit of healing, but you are gaining a growing aura of -1 to save rolls for the enemy. With his increased control score for Ghyran, and that aura hopefully being able to grow most turns, you could have just an awful unit on an objective in the middle of the board, spreading out this negative, and if people charge him, he gets to just be a menace. This scroll is much more for capping objectives, I think, and buffing, well, debuffing the enemy units. His other scroll is much more about doing little bits of chip damage by the sounds of it, but healing units around him, and really playing into that diseased keyword that Maggotkin have access to. So this really depends. Again, the point is the same. Depends how you want to play them. I don't think there's a right choice. I think both units will do work, and I think both units, depending on what you want them to do, are suited for one particular task over the other. If you just want somebody to buff units and build up that diseased, and you're focused on spreading diseased to the enemy, I think the standard War Scroll is better, just because you can play into that healing and mortal damage ability. But if you want him to sit on an objective in the middle board and just slowly spread out an aura of -1 save, and if anything charges him, he just does a bit more damage and he can chip away at enemy units, I think you take the Ghyran one. Wizard 2, so you get access to other spells as well. I think they're both quite nice. I think he's expensive, but I think his abilities justify the cost. Yeah, I don't know which is best. I don't play Maggotkin of Nurgle. Maggotkin of Nurgle players, what do you think of this new War Scroll? On the whole, I quite like the War Scroll. He's pricey, but then he's always been pricey. He does a lot. He does a lot of stuff. And at 22 health, you're going to struggle to shift him early on. The Prelor I think is pretty good. I quite like the Unlimited, and I quite like Frothing Mucus. The mortal damage one it's okay. We see a lot of these types of rares and spells at the minute. I think you'll find use for it, let's put it that way. Grandfather's Gifts all sound quite nice. Being able to turn a hero into a priest is good. The Diseased Living Plague ability, it's only once per battle, but if you do it to a big unit, an important unit, that could be good. And I don't necessarily mind, I think the hero traits are probably the weakest element of this faction pack. Don't mind Avalanche, it's okay. It's more about getting on an objective, I think. On the whole, I think it's a decent faction pack. I still think the Ossiarch Bone Reapers is the best one. I don't think this is up there, quite that level, but I think this is nice. There's some bits you'll use, there's probably some bits you won't. I think Rotigus has got a nice alternative use now. Join me tomorrow for another faction update. It's the tree one. I think we said Sylvaneth, didn't we? Well, I did. I'm sure it's the tree people. We'll find out tomorrow. Join me then. But let me know what you think of this one in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.